Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today and welcome back to Planet Zoo for another speed build. Today we are back in Sequora Zoo and it's been kind of a while since we've been in here. I'm actually trying to think. I think the last habitat we built was the beaver habitat, and that was at the very start of the North America Animal Pack, right when that got released. So now we're back in Sequora Zoo, and this time actually with another North American animal. Now as you're watching this, I believe the Europe pack came out 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago. I'm actually pre-recording this because at the time that you're watching, I will be in Boston on a little Christmas vacation, but I wanted to make sure that there was still content up on the channel for you guys to enjoy while I was off on vacation. So that's kind of why we are building for the American alligator today and not one of the European animals. I was actually starting this habitat just before the Europe pack was announced, and so then I figured I would just kind of put it off until I was able to build for the Europe pack animals a little bit, and then we would revisit this one. Before we jump too far into the build, as always, I just want to remind you, if you do enjoy the video, leaving a like down below really does help me out, and subscribing will help you ensure that you don't miss out on any other future content. I greatly appreciate it. But this habitat is on actually the back side of our alligator reptile house. I think we called it like the Tillman reptile house. I built this originally when the aquatic pack came out. We're going like way back, back a few packs. The aquatic pack came out and it introduced the caiman. So I built a little house with the caiman and the saltwater crocodile. So then when the North America pack came out, I thought it would be perfect to kind of build off a little extension to the back of this and add our American alligators. So the back of house facilities in this zoo would all be shared between those three habitats, but as far as the guests are concerned, they actually have to come around the back side of the building in order to get to the American alligator. But they're all kind of in the same little house, so I thought that it fit. I also was thinking that maybe this was a newer addition to the building. I believe the story that we had with the Tillman reptile house was that it was a grant fund, some extra money that the zoo got, and they were able to build this brand new building. So maybe it was built and then in addition, you know, years later they added on to it, because this backside is done in a similar style, but not exact style as the front half of the build. I of course wanted to utilize some of these African wood pieces that we got from the Africa pack, because I love that they're recolorable, and I love the detail on the beams on the top where at the ends it kind of has a little cutout. I absolutely love that tiny little detail so it doesn't just cut off in a 90-degree square end. But yeah, that's kind of the story behind what we are building or why we are building it. You can see that I did use the sunshade set by Leader. So these were made by Leader. They're up on the workshop. You're able to download them yourselves. I'm just using the little square ones, but they're super beautifully made. They fit absolutely perfect, and they're made out of art shape. So the time and energy that went into making these, can't even imagine. I mean, I can kind of imagine it because I built a set of sunshades myself, but not anywhere near as nice as these ones are, which is why I've opted to use Leaders instead of mine. But they're perfect. They fit perfectly square in this kind of shade structure. I was, of course, as always, working off of a reference picture where it did have these kind of sunshades coming off in like kind of like a sunburst pattern. It was more of like a semicircle habitat where the sunshades came from the center and they kind of fanned out over the habitat. I didn't necessarily want to make my habitat a circular habitat, so that's why I opted to make it kind of like this L. I really wanted the habitat to be long and narrow so that the guests could get a really good view of the alligators regardless of where they were. I didn't really want it to be where the alligators alligators could kind of go back into the habitat and not be seen. Because the caiman and the saltwater crocodile actually have indoor viewing, the caiman is actually completely indoor, and the saltwater crocodile has a little indoor section where you can go back and see the little feeding area. They're kind of accessible from all areas of the habitat, but these guys, the American alligators, would not have been if I just made kind of a giant square habitat. So that was the idea behind that. This is probably, well, you know, I shouldn't say that, because every time I say that this is going to be like the dead end, the edge of the zoo, I end up expanding off on in the direction that I'm saying it's going to end. So I'm not actually going to say that this is the outermost part of Sequora Zoo. I actually have so many more plans for Sequora Zoo, and I wanted to tell you guys about them very quickly, because I think that all of the European animals that we got in the European pack will fit very, very nicely in Sequora Zoo, starting with the fallow deer. So I have a really good reference picture that's really a simplistic kind of just stereotypical zoo habitat, and I'm excited to put that into Sequora because it looks like pretty much exactly the thing that would fit in Sequora Zoo. I also very much want to add the badgers, the lynx, and the ibex is the only one I'm kind of teetering on. So let me know what you guys think down below. I don't mean to talk about the European pack so much, but in that it is the newest pack, that is what has been on my mind recently, despite the fact that this build started. I was actually intending to release this before the European pack came out, but as I was building and I downloaded the European pack and I kind of scrolled through and didn't realize that it would show up in my recording when I was doing it, I just thought like, oh, I just won't use any pieces, and you know, it won't be a problem. And then I realized very quickly that, oh, well, just because I'm not clicking on the pieces, they're still going to be viewable in my menu as I scroll through. And unfortunately, it was at a time where I was not able to share the European pack with you guys just as of yet. So I had to hold on to this, but it worked out because, like I said, being on vacation, I really wanted to have some kind of backlogged content. And actually, talking about that, the only other video that I have scheduled right now that I can say definitively is coming out is going to be a new episode of Windfell Zoo coming out on Friday. I think it's the 31st. Is it New Year's Eve? I believe so, because you would have seen the first episode on the channel on Christmas Eve on the 24th. So the next one's coming out on Friday. So do hope you guys enjoy that. Now this is a quicker build. We've only got about a 17 minute video or so here. So let's go ahead and bring up some of the information on our American alligators and talk about them a little bit. So I have the Smithsonian's Zoo website up, and we'll just kind of go over what they have listed on here. They do have them listed as least concern, which is great. Little fun facts, we'll start with those. I kind of end with those sometimes, but let's start with them. As an alligator's teeth are worn down, they are replaced. An alligator can go through 3,000 teeth in a lifetime. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of teeth. I knew that they replaced their teeth and they kind of grew in new ones as they got worn down, but I didn't know it was that much. The sex of juveniles is determined by the temperature of the eggs. So I did actually know this. So dependent on what the temperature is, depends on if the eggs will turn out to be females or males, which actually makes it a bit of an issue with climate change and global warming, in that sometimes they are not able to regulate their nests at the correct temperature, and they're producing primarily males or primarily females, whichever one it is, and it can be a problem for the populations. So that I did actually know. I find that really, really fascinating. Moving on, talking a little bit about their physical description. So both males and females have an armored body with a muscular flat tail. The skin on their back is armored with embedded bony plates called osteoderms or scutes. I've never echinoderms. I've never heard that term before, but I've heard the word scoots before. That one I am familiar with. They have 4 short legs. The front legs have 5 toes, while the back legs only have 4. Alligators have a long, round snout that has upward-facing nostrils at the end. This is so they can sit just below the water and still breathe. That's why their nostrils are where they are. The young have bright yellow stripes on the tail, and adults have dark stripes on the tail. You'll see in the very end cinematics, I did wait around for my alligators to have a baby so that you could see. They are absolutely adorable with their little yellow stripes. So do stick around and wait for that. Talking a little bit about their natural habitat, the American alligator is found in the United States from North Carolina to the Rio Grande in Texas. Alligators are usually found in fresh water, slow-moving rivers. They also live in swamps, marshes, and lakes. They can only tolerate salt water for brief periods because they do not have salt glands, so must stay in fresh water. A little bit about their social structure. Female alligators usually remain in a small area. Males can occupy areas greater than 2 square miles. Both males and females extend their ranges during the breeding season. Young alligators remain in the area where they are hatched and where their mother protects them. After 2 to 3 years, they leave that area in search of food or when driven out by larger alligators. So I did know that as well, that the moms are very protective of their little babies. And that is pretty much it. I mean, it goes in more to reproduction and development, eating habits. I mean, I'm sure you guys can guess that alligators are carnivorous, so they're going to eat animal material or meat. They have strong jaws that can crack a turtle shell, is the first sentence on that. That is pretty freaking strong there. But yeah, so that is a little bit about our American alligator friends. As always, if you guys have information for me, fun facts that you want to share, leave those down in the comments below. You guys are fantastic about letting me know about facts that I've missed or didn't know, so I really appreciate it. I love reading through the comments on these videos when you guys leave me animal facts. Anyway, let's hop back into the build. We've moved on now to the roof, which is pretty much one of the last things that I did. You watched I put through a whole bunch of foliage, got everything kind of detailed, lots of rocks. I did have to go back in, however, after I finished recording and kind of fix some of the rocks because the traversable area for the alligators was a bit tricky and they couldn't get into the water, which is pretty important. I wanted them as alligators to be able to get into the water and swim around. So I did adjust that at the very end. You'll see it reflected in the end cinematics, but that's really the only kind of thing that I tweaked at the very, very end. I was really pleased with myself, I guess, in leaving out the every other sunshade on the pergolas, and I didn't do it intentionally, leaving room for trees to kind of grow through, but when I was placing the foliage, as you saw there, really kind of happy accident that I was able to kind of place a tree there and they were able to grow up and through, kind of give the habitat a little bit more height in everything that's so low to the ground. Obviously, alligators are really low to the ground, so a lot of stuff was like really kind of short, so having things that kind of raise up the eye level, or I guess the viewing of the habitat, raising it up. Hopefully I'm making sense. I know what I'm talking about in my mind, but we're going to continue to put some foliage throughout the habitat. I do decorate this underwater section just so it has a little bit of greenery and it's not all gray rocks. A little bit of pop of color makes it look kind of alive and detailed. I went through and actually made some custom billboards for this habitat. They're not in camera, like you won't see on the recording me placing them, but I do end up adding them and you'll see them in the end cinematics. That is really all I have for you guys. So honestly, as we're finishing this up, I really do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you guys know what to do. Leaving a like down below really does help me out. And if you made it this far in the video, why not consider subscribing? It really does help me out, as well as ensures that you don't miss out on any future content. Planet Zoo, Jurassic World Evolution 2, Prehistoric Kingdom. We're covering quite a few games on the channel right now, and I'd love to see you in other videos. But until next time, I will talk at you guys in the next video. Bye!